Next up, come on out, guys. Come on out. We'll have you guys introduce yourselves. You guys sit right here. Thank you. Welcome, Charles, Danielle. Give a round of applause. Thank you guys for being here.
Hi there, everyone. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name's Lakhvir Takhar. I work for Reality Plus. We are based in London, Soho, and we work with two clients in particular I'd like to mention. One would be the BBC. So we work with the Doctor Who franchise and have created a NFT trading card game. And one of our most recent launches would be with the Thunderbirds. And what we've done there is a sandbox activation, which will include avatars and a unique digital exploration and world.
Hi guys, my name is Danielle Lukins. I'm the director of Beyond Crypto 92, a social media agency that helps scale Web3 projects on social. One of the most notable clients that we have is QEii, the crypto exchange, and we also work quite heavily in the film industry. We just hosted the Slab film event last night, which I can actually see a couple people who were there, so thank you guys for coming out. Yeah, that's me.
Great. Hi, guys. I'm Stanton. I am the CMO for a company called Forge. We're a subsidiary of Animoca Brands. I guess our most notable activations, we work with Lewis Capaldi, launched his big, fat, sexy digital collectibles collection, and we also recently launched through our metaverse brand, Metaprints, the first sandbox experience featuring Bored Apes. So that came out a few weeks back called Monkeying Around, really successful experience on Alpha Season 3.
Hey everyone, my name is Burkhard. I'm from Mutabor. I'm running a design agent.
In this space, right? There is a lot of people who would say it's a long-lasting journey. It doesn't really cut off, right? We were speaking about a 3-year roadmap in the back. So, for example, I work with two brands, for example, being ITV and the BBC. They come from a Web 2 background, so I am technically sort of explain to them as customers, because that might be a familiar word to them, right? Because we're all looking to either educate or educate people into a new world being this Web3 space. So calling them customers in that space makes sense with our two companies and our two brands, sorry. So when it works, trying to get them into the NFT space, we can start thinking about other things, right? If it's connecting to their ETH or looking at the whole roadmap ahead. So this idea of customers sort of being thrown around with all of us. So I'll let you guys explain a bit further on that comment.
Yeah, I think there's Web 2 brands coming into Web 3. I think they have more of a clearer customer life cycle because they already have an established brand. They already have a customer base. So when you're talking about a customer life cycle, it's quite easy to transition that into a Web 3 product. However, if you're starting out in Web 3 and don't have a customer base already, then it can be quite difficult to find your customer life cycle, especially depending on what NFT project it is. If it's a PFP project, are your customers your community? And if it is the community, then like if you don't have a clear roadmap, then how can you really have a customer life cycle in a sense? What are your thoughts on that?
No, exactly that. And actually, one of the things that we found, and again, engaging a lot of I guess you call them Web 2 companies, but companies who aren't already in Web 3, those looking to get into Web 3, often when they think about NFTs, they think about NFTs as in itself a product. And actually, I think that one of the ways that we can overcome hurdles is to start to reframe NFTs as actually an opportunity to increase engagement with consumers. It's in a way, it's a contract with a consumer. It's not always a product in itself. It's a gateway to a new form of relationship, whether that's a loyalty program.
NFT activation. We say to them, okay, it's not if you want to do it for PR, that's okay. But if you want to do something that's going to be a long-lasting, let's ask some key questions what you want to achieve. And those key questions is, okay, where do you see yourself in 3 years with this? Do you want Web3 to be a revenue model for your business, or you want it to be something else? And then when you define this timeline, you have like a straight, not a straight vision, but you have like 2 years to play around with it, right? You can then incorporate numerous different mechanics and build a plan around that timeline to create a perfect sort of a journey, customer journey, etc., with some key KPIs that you want to achieve. And yeah, I think that's that's also really good. But also in terms of the Web2 space, I believe that the big problem is also the thing that legal side is bothering them a lot, and we see this happening a lot when brands come to us and they say, okay, how are we going to transfer the crypto? How are we going to deal with this? We don't want to deal with any of it. We just want fiat and that's it, like nothing, because also their reputation is on the line. I mean, in terms of if they're over-deliver, over-promise something, etc. But yeah, and I think that's one of the key things that's bothering them, plus the user experience, which at the end of the day, I believe I've heard this quote in the Web3 space, everybody's so used to getting some sort of a return on their investments, etc., that we forgot what good UX looks like. And we circle back that UX and we just say, okay, we're going to deal with it later. But now as new brands come in, we see that there's a big problem in that, and their traditional audience has a problem with navigating this Web3 space.
Yeah, there's a lot of points obviously mentioned between us, all right? I thought there could have been any terminology you mentioned there, you know what I mean? At the end, I think we can all think of a few words that's sort of being created in this NFT space, right? So everyone's obviously mentioned a few things, right? We've spoken about communities, law, obviously going back to the idea of life cycles as well. I think what's quite interesting here, and I'm sure everyone here in the audience can appreciate, right, is that we are all dealing with different kinds of audiences. And I think audiences and communities are the really big, interesting point here in what we work with the Web3 space. Working especially with communities on Discord is a great example, right? I've not seen in any other space where people will be educating, promoting, and pushing others about a space. If it's a sale or a minting, whatever it might be, you've got people talking to each other a lot more actively than you have in previous other spaces. And I think if we can really tap into that, this customer is more maybe essentially a community.
Yeah, I think it's having a good idea of what your audience actually is as well, because, you know, you've got the degens that are just here for the quick flip. They, you know, are there with, you know, their laptop trying to, you know, trade these NFTs, which is great. And there's an audience for that. There's alpha groups. There's, you know, people that are looking for the next Bored Ape yacht clubs, the PFPs and all that kind of stuff. And then you've got, like I said, the Web2 brands moving into Web3 that are trying to, you know, build a product and really build up a, you know, an existing customer base and transition them into Web3, which needs education. And then you've got the Web3 community that is already almost educated on the technology that are there in the Discord, helping these Web2 people transition. And understand the technology in a sense. So yeah, it's massive. Discord's a huge platform for, you know, helping each other out. And yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, actually, no, it's some really good points around community that I think actually, and again, I know everyone in this room is going to be aware of all the cliches around Web3 and community and everything else, but at the same time, that does impact on the customer lifecycle. When you think about the fact that actually, if your consumers, whether, you know, whatever those audience might be, and as you mentioned, Danielle, they could be degens, they could be, you know, people interested in your brand new product, they could be, there's lots and lots of different reasons why they might want to engage with your particular NFT, your project, but ultimately, if you are truly Web3, your customer and you, as the brand, you know, you should be closer than ever before. There's in some ways, you should be sometimes indistinguishable. One of the things that we've always advocated is this idea of the fan becoming the creator and vice versa. You know, you have to think about actually, do these projects, if you want to be truly Web3, your projects, your products should be evolving with your community as well. So how do you factor that into your life cycle? Because ultimately, it's not actually as simple as saying, here's my 3-year roadmap, and then we're going to do exactly these things. Actually, you want your community to help shape that roadmap and shape that journey as well. And that opens up a whole new realm of difficulty, I think, for traditional companies, because there's a lot of uncertainty there. Can we actually activate against what the community wants us to do? Can we actually factor in this level of change? You know, things could be very different between now and in 3 years' time, because that's what our community or our customers may want. So I think setting yourself up appropriately for that kind of situation, I think, is really critical. So I don't know what you guys think about that.
Well, I think NFT projects or Web3 projects in general will in the future have different kind of customers. There are the highly involved customers who are active on Discord, but to be honest, I'm really annoyed of Discord. It's so much time consuming, and you really have to, thank you, you really have to be into the brand. So I don't want to bash Discord, but it takes so much time, and I guess we all were in this Degen move where we were in 20, 30, 100 Discords, and it was popping up all the day. That's not a good customer life cycle. That's not a good life. And I think it's very important when you look at a brand, it's about identity and identification. And you need to have these highly involved customers that love your brand, that push your brand, and that they create a kind of lifestyle. And then they need jeans, or when you wear Supreme or something, not everyone is talking about it, not everyone is pushing the brand, but we need this highly invested customers who interact, who create the stories, who do community engagement, everything like this. And then there need to be the normal customers, I don't know how to call them, that just identify with this kind of lifestyle. They like to wear a shirt of this. And I think this is something which will be one of the futures for Web3 brands, that they have these investors, and then they have people who just like the brand, likes the lifestyle, invest money in it. And I guess it's no huge use case that everyone invests money and gets a return. But I guess the future is that you build like a startup brands with NFT and with your investors, but then create a bigger brand and create something where you have merch, where you have experiences, where you have community events, everything that creates a lifestyle. And I guess this will be very nice. And then you're more or less like a Web2 brand, but started in another way, that you don't have the traditional funding.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of there's a good there's a good example of this, and I don't know if anybody's around in the Artifact Discord and what's happening over there, but Artifact did, as you all know, one of the best customer life cycles when it comes to Web3 in general. But also what happened is, okay, some of the community members, they said, okay, we want to learn Blender, we want to learn development tools, we want to learn this, this, and this. And Artifact said, okay, let's find some people who are talented, who can teach them. And they have, I don't know, they created some sort of tutorials, they helped each other out, etc. And from that point till, I believe, like 6 months or 7, we saw new products being developed in the Artifact ecosystem, which were then also promoted by Artifact. So we see customers who are really invested into the product. They build together with the brand. The brand then also pushes them together to invest all the other customers who are not on the investor side, but on the, let's say, chill side, that they just enjoy the product itself.
Once again, obviously, all our points are sort of spoken amongst each other, and I appreciate that, right? We are all here to bring our own opinions in this space. I'm sure, like we've seen in the audience today, a lot of people are sort of agreeing and disagreeing on what could be happening. Obviously, your point about Discord, obviously there's things about Twitter we can mention. I'm sure everyone has a point that they might not like or they might enjoy, right? So sort of going back to that point we've mentioned, yeah, like you said, different social medias, lifestyles, a great thing that you've mentioned there as well. And another thing as well is either the user journey to that point as well, right? Something I'm quite proud to talk about, what we've done at Reality Plus with the Doctor Who brand, is try to introduce this audience and show them that you don't need to connect your ETH wallet straight away. Try to use PayPal, show other people of other mechanics of introducing them to this world, because I do really want to reiterate this fact. We've got to be educators in this space, right? A lot of us just can't throw this on people. I like using the metaphor of sort of a dial, right? We can't just switch the dial all the way on. We're going to have to slowly put it on, right? Because there's a lot of people you've got to tell them what ETH wallet might be, tell them what the blockchain is. There's a lot of things you're throwing at them straight away, right? So let us be educators. And today, and as we're all here today, use this space and use this time to educate people, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to go over my story, really, because my transition into NFTs, I didn't start with NFTs, so I started with crypto. So I bought the top of Bitcoin in 2018, lost all my money. Great, love that. And then slowly, over the pandemic, had a lot of free time to kind of, really delve into the crypto industry. So I started investing into, the Ethereum, Cardano, Polkadot, the L1 blockchains. And instead of investing into NFTs, I started investing into NFT marketplaces because I didn't understand the technology, but I understood the corporate side and the business side of it. So I was like, if this, monkey JPEG is gonna do, like 400K each, then I should probably start investing in the companies that are providing this service. So they did really well, and over time I started to understand, okay, these NFTs, I need to actually look into the technology, I need to look into the smart contracts, I need to educate myself. And finally, when I first bought my first NFT, which was a Boss Beauty in 2021, I started going down the community side because I was doing this all alone. I was trading, I was investing in these businesses, but I had no community or no backing behind me. So when I actually got into Discord and started communicating with people, I swiftly found out that there's a lot of beginners here. There's a lot of people that, your mums, your dads, your sisters, your brothers, that are just kind of trying to find that connection while we're in a pandemic, while we can't see each other in real life. That was their lifeline, and it was my lifeline for a very long time. And there's a lot of people that I've met on Discord that are now, I would consider my friends. And with that, I started jumping on Twitter spaces with projects and educating people about NFTs and smart contracts and all of that kind of stuff. And people really, really appreciated that, because even though they were buying these NFTs, they didn't actually understand the underlying technology behind it. And that, I think, is really important, to actually try and understand what you're investing in, essentially. So yeah, I think community and educating people, and I wouldn't consider myself an expert, but I definitely know a lot more than someone, and if I can provide that education to them and help them on their journey, then that's a win for me. So yeah, what do you think?
Well, I think in the spirit of that, Danielle, should we throw it open to the audience here if there's any questions, anything that you wanted to ask us, just conscious of time as well. So is there a microphone in the audience or anything that we could, any questions? Maybe raise your hand. No.
No question.
No. Okay. Well, then obviously a little bit more about maybe the point around actually the initial acquisition, I suppose, in the customer lifecycle. I think one of the things that actually Danielle raised there, which is really important, is you can't assume that everybody understands in the first place, and that education hurdle is such an integral part of the initial acquisition. And I think that's almost, everything kind of boils down to how easy is it to get them into your project or get them able to buy your product. And actually, one of the things you have to be wary of, especially in the world of Web3, is the sense of over-promising. Right, you want to acquire audiences, you want them to buy into a premise, and obviously you sometimes have to go above and beyond in terms of the low-hanging fruit, the incentives to actually get on board, and then it's about actually making sure you can then fill on those promises and you can actually deliver on that level of, for example, community involvement. If you're doing something that's DAO-led, if you're doing something with partners and you're very much of the mindset that these partnerships will be essentially the biggest draw, you've got to make sure that those are laid out and there's operationally there's integrity there to allow you to actually deliver these things. So obviously don't try and go above and beyond to try and get people in. Think more about making it easy for them, making the proposition easy for them, and then continuing to deliver on that. So yeah, that's certainly my advice.
I do look like we're going to be waved off shortly, so obviously apologies, guys. If there's any final points, I'll let you guys finish off.
I don't think that we are currently too much talking about how we get this community engaged in our projects. And when we talk about getting people into a customer lifecycle, we first have to talk about how we get people outside of this room onboarded in all these projects. And I think it's we can't start with educating everyone. We have to make the whole user experience much, much more easy, that it just feels natural to get into a project. And this is something I'm going to see the next 2-3 years, that we have to get the people easier on board in all these blockchain topics, that it feels natural, that it feels like using your credit card or something like this. And I guess then we can talk about the bigger life cycle. And yeah, currently it's great that we talk with the community here and create great use cases, but I think we have to talk with the people who are not inside in this room.
Thank you guys so much. Give them a round of applause. Thank you all for being here.